Hello students, today will be discuss about Eustacia Y. ओके ये करेक्टर है द रिटर्न ऑफ द नेटिव में, जो कि थॉमस हार्डी ने लिखा है. ओके यूस्टेशिया बाय इज अ मेमोरेबल हीरोइन ऑफ द रिटर्न टू द नेटिव. शी इज़ द मोस्ट इम्प्रेसिव कैरेक्टर इन द novel. She is the main attraction in the novel. Her influence on the other characters of the novel is immense. Okay. Clem and Violet both are in love with her. Even Charlie is her silent admirer and feels great pleasure in holding her hand in his hand. It is said if Sue Bridehead is the subtlest of Hardy's female characters, Eustacia has the deepest force. It has been suggested that Eustacia belongs essentially to the class of which Madame Bovary is the type. The similarities between the similarities between Emma and Eustacia are indeed clear enough. The tragedy of each of them consists in the disillusionment which really brings for their romantic dreams of a happiness unconnected. But this, after all, is no uncommon theme. It is as frequently met with in literature as in life, and there is no need to seek in Flaubert for an explanation of Hardy's choice of it. The aim of the two novelists is in fact quite different. Okay. First है her physical features. We find the detailed descriptions of Eustacia's personality in chapter 7th, Queen of Night of book 1st of the Return of the Native. She was in person full-limbed and somewhat heavy, without ruddiness as without pallor, and soft to the touch as a cloud. To see her hair was to fancy that the whole winter did not contain darkness enough to form its shadow. It closed over her forehead like nightfall, the western glow. Her nerves extended into those tresses, and her temper could always be softened by stroking them down. When her hair was brushed, she would instantly sink into stillness and look like the Sphinx. If in passing under one of the Eden ranks, any of its thick skins were caught, as they sometimes were by a prickly tuft of the large Ilex europaeus, which will act as a sort of a hairbrush, she would go back a few steps and pass against it a second time. Next, her parentage and early life. Eustacia comes from the family of Woodmouth, a fashionable seaside resort at the date. Her father was a band master and a fine musician. He married the daughter of Captain Y against his wish. He adopted his wife's name and made England permanently his home. He looked great trouble with his child's education, for he was not able to meet the expense of his daughter. She was educated at the expense of his grandfather from the maternal side. Next, her dignity. In Hardy's opinion, Eustacia is the raw material of her divinity on Olympus. She would have done well with a little preparation. She has patience and instincts which make a model goddess, that is, those which make not quite a mortal woman. She has a dignity which is rarely found in women of her class. Next is hedonist. Eustacia is a mildly neurotic hedonist, as Hardy say. As far as social ethics were concerned, Eustacia approached the savage state, though in emotions she was all the while on a picture. Okay. Next, her pride. Eustacia is proud and vain. She takes pride in her beauty and is aware how it affects others. She also wants a recognition of this fact. When she meets Wilder after his failure to marry Thompson, she tries to get his acknowledgement. She throws back her shawl and exposes to his view her face and throat and cautions him with a smile. Have you seen anything better than that in your travels? She also declares that she has given a glimpse of her power over him by lighting the bonfire. Okay. Her talks with a Wilder and Diggory Van reveals her pride. She tells Van frankly, "What I lost all self-respect in talking to you." She expresses her views about Thompson to Wilder. "I will not be beaten down by an inferior woman like her." अगला है her hatred of Eden. Eustacia's early life was spent in the pleasant and gay atmosphere of Woodmouth, but in her youth she has to live in the lovely heat with her maternal grandfather. Captain Y. Eden is her head, and since coming there she has imbibed much of what is dark in its tone, though inwardly and externally reconciled thereto. Next, a romantic figure. Eustacia is born romantic, Walker rightly says. She is Shelley's creation in her quarrel with the stern realities and her joy in what seems she yearns for a palace of delight. She would quaff all the moment can give, lest the cup should be snatched from her lips. Hardy has heaped upon her beauty a series of historical and classical allusions, identifying her with the glories of past civilization, the beauty of exotic landscapes, and the nature of rebellious and romantic women. She is compared of Artemis, Athena, and Hera. She might have been a fitting divinity for Olympus. One had fancied that such lip cups were mostly lurking underground in the south as fragments of forgotten marvels. Next, a votress of love. Eustacia is essentially a votress of love. Lovemaking is the main concern of her life. In her case, lovemaking is generated by something beyond or beside the loved one to which he seems to be related. The love which drives Eustacia in ceaseless moments of longing is never simple desire for possession of another, but is always desire for something else which seems to be accessible by way of the beloved. At first she is shown love with Wilder, but this love is not sincere. It is just a pastime sincere. There is no other better man in the heat. She attaches all her hopes and aspirations with him. He is not the sort of man she desires most to be her husband. At first she tries to prevent him from marrying Thompson, but when she comes to know of Clem's arrival from Paris, she shifts her love and loyalty to Clem and helps Thompson in getting married to Wilder. Okay, last is summing up. Summing up, we can do no better than quote the views of some famous critics on Eustacia's character. Eustachius in The Return of the Native is a more impressive but much less charming figure. She does not indeed charm at all. It is not in her nature. She conquers and commands. Willfulness becomes stormy passion. In her caprice turns to scornful determination. Eustace in The Return of the Native is more impressive but much less charming figure. She does not indeed charm at all. It is not in her nature. She conquers and commands. Willfulness becomes stormy passion. In her caprice turn to scornful determination. To have in all things no law but her own nature, and yet there is a gloomy readiness in her to take the smallest adverse turn in her fortune as evidence of an immense malicious fate arrayed against her. The process of things is not for her a blind chance medley of onward motions. The world is a huge deliberate conspiracy, consciously inventing devices for her ruin. Nothing less than this will her pride believe in, for her nature is tragic and she must be the center of her universe. Hence, this tragic fiction of her own insatiable pride forever threatens her, and she forever looks it down with fierce contempt. There is a grandeur in the perverse, unhappy woman, if Sue Brighthead is the subtlest of Hardy's feminine characters. Eustacia Y has the deepest force. She is one of those figures who are not only themselves but their own incarnate destiny.